Yeah, we're back. Hi, guys. Diane, I remember when I played that Tim Cohen before, it stopped midstream as well, if you remember. I had to reboot that last time. So I don't think they like that getting played.
It's so good to be able to see you this evening. It is October the 13th, 2024, and it's been 60 years since I've popped up on this earth, but we won't talk about that tonight.
Well, why not? Why not? This is your birthday and you are 60 years old. And
Yeah.
I can say that because we can always say that about men because men don't age somehow.
But I can't tell them that you're 40 years old?
No, well, yeah, tell them I'm 40.
Okay.
I like that.
Sounds better, doesn't
As
it?
long as I stay at 40, I'm good.
That's right. There you go.
Okay. No, I'm definitely not 40, but I won't tell you how old I am. But it is your birthday. So happy birthday,
Well,
Steve.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we were going to keep these very short because we're going to have a movie tonight as part of your birthday.
Yes.
So things we wanted to bring you is a few videos and discuss and chat here around those things that are happening. And this particular video is interview with Israeli dissidents taking action for Palestine. And this is what I want to bring in.
Sure, we're live. Just keep
Oh,
going.
okay. This is what I want to kind of emphasize here. Jewish people, or Israeli, I should say, Israeli people in the state of Israel, not all of them agree with policies of the state of Israel. There is significant number of people who just simply do not agree, and they don't agree with the way Palestinians are treated. I have given names like such as Gideon Levy, journalist, or Mikol Peled. Those names you should definitely look up. Or another one, the organization called what was this?
Breaking the silence.
Yes, breaking the silence. Those are people who are speaking against what is going on, against the right-wing Talmudic government and the Zionist policies. And then also we showed you last time video of 20,000 Jewish males getting together in their conference, and their voices were raised, which they claim that even their Talmud doesn't teach what today's Zionists are doing, and these are crimes against humanity. So
The stream dropped out, and I'm pretty sure last time I tried to play him as well, that Antichrist King Charles, I'm pretty sure the stream stopped halfway too. So I don't think they like that being streamed. So I've deleted it just to play it safe. So that's what happened.
The Zionist state persecutes its own citizens if they give voices for the Palestinians, or if they disagree with what's going on. Now, we used to say that Israel is the democracy in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, Bath, I've learned not to do a community strike. I haven't had one for the whole this whole channel, and I've done this channel for over a year now, and I've only been copyrighted for a week, I think it was.
Used to say it was the only democracy,
Yes.
and we were very strong Zionists, very, very vocal, very supportive of Israel. And but as we've had our really from your own research initially opened our eyes to what's really going on and finding out biblically these things were just totally false. We've totally, in fact, the video I just released a few minutes ago really, really slams that issue there. And besides playing this, I want us to also play the IDF tried to stop me, the surgeon, British surgeon. I want to play that little clip
Let's
as
just
well.
play these videos,
Yeah, sure.
watch them together, discuss this, then play that one, and we want to show some disturbing things happening in churches today.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
The so-called Bristol 7, who smashed the Elbit headquarters in Bristol on Nakba Day 2022.
He was smashing. You see him smashing?
Yes.
74 years of colonization, 74 years of apartheid, 74 years of crimes against humanity.
These are
who will not be
Israelis.
a custodial sentence, but sent home on suspended sentence. Here's our story.
Now, before they tell their story, I want to bring your attention to this. These are Israelis. They don't mind going to prison. They're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
They will tell you that if that's what it takes, that we do these actions just to really have people's eyes open and stop the government from crimes like these, if they have to lose their freedom and go to jail, they're willing to do this. Now look at Christians in the United States who support the state of Israel that murders Palestinians, non-Jews,
Yes.
or that allows
Palestinians,
rabbis.
Lebanese, Syrians, Iraqis, Iranians,
And it's not
every
gonna
single
stop.
one of them.
This ain't gonna stop
No.
this. It's gonna keep going until even
Listen, that promise that was made to Abraham, when God said to him, I will bless those that bless you. That's a singular you. I will curse those that curse you. That's a singular curse. And then he said, you will be a blessing to all nations. That was through his seed, through Jesus Christ.
Yes.
See, so the promise of that blessing and cursing went right from him to Isaac, to Jacob, to Joseph, to Jesus. And now all the nations are blessed because of Jesus. That was the fulfillment of the promise. So if you're in there killing Palestinians, you are cursing the nations that God has blessed. And God says whoever he blessed, he would bless. Whoever he curses, he'll curse. And so he blessed the nations through Abraham, which was through Christ. So if you're cursing these nations, you're cursing God himself.
Yes, and also a lot of Christians will say, well, you know, these are Muslims and Muslim faith is against Christianity. Well, so is Judaic faith. There is no worse faith or religion that's antichrist than Judaism. They are openly antichrist, Steve. But they kind of form bridges with them, and I don't know how can.
Well, Jesus said the blind would lead the blind, and they'll both fall in a pit. I mean, what can you say?
Right, exactly.
Jesus also said you have left your first love.
Mm-hmm.
And when you left your first love is when we got tricked, we got duped into the Zionist belief.
Mm-hmm.
We got duped by the Darby Scofield theology.
Yes.
And they forget this spirit that would come up that said that he would exalt himself above God. And the only group in the world that exalts himself authoritatively above God are the rabbinical, the Pharisee, not all rabbis, not the Pharisaic rabbinical group. They're the ones that do. Nehemiah Gordon played in the message here. He clearly tells you that they base it off of one little tiny fraction of a sentence out of Deuteronomy.
Oh, Deuteronomy?
Out of Deuteronomy.
Yeah,
That's their excuse. If they said God has no authority on earth, only in heaven, so therefore he has no say on earth. The rabbis have the say. So they fulfill Daniel chapter 7, the first part of the scripture. Then he said he's going to mentally, it doesn't put the word mentally in there, but it is mentally, he's going to abuse the people. He's going to weaken them. And he did that from the Darby Scofield to Moody Bible Institute, and it spread around the world. My first book was just built off of Scofield's notes.
Yes, and Schofield teachers, all the brainwashing, how they changed the meaning of prophecy.
And the whole reason for breaking the people mentally is so that we would follow this Antichrist spirit into believing that he had the right to change the time and the law. The law was the decree, not the physical law. It was not a Torah. It was not Sabbath or anything like that, as people try to blame it on the Pope. And I'm not saying the Pope's really a good guy, but let's face it. That decree was Artaxerxes' decree to build the temple. And so we have fallen into that trap, believed the lie. We were beaten down by the Darby Scofield doctrines there. And now the whole church has been led.
Darby Scofield. Is Darby the rapture dude? He invented the rapture or the pre-trib rapture?
The blind has led the blind. We're going into the pit right now unless somebody wakes up and gets out of this pit and recognizes that, hey, something is really wrong. And thank God for Jewish people like this who have enough eyes to be able to open your eyes.
That's it. But you know what? Two things I wanted to bring on, and I hope I won't forget because I'm kind of tired. But one, when Christians say that all these Arabs are Muslims and Muslim religion is Antichrist, okay, because that's what their pastors tell them, which I'm not a Muslim. I don't agree with Muslims. We, of course, don't Quran and all of that, right?
Yes.
But the Judaic Noahide laws are exactly the same as Sharia law.
Yeah, exactly.
So being with Judaics, the ones that proclaim Talmud as their sacred scripture, is no better than being with Muslims. So
Hey,
I
Johnny,
don't
good to see
understand
ya.
how Christian pastors don't explain that to the flocks.
Right.
Right?
And what about all the Christians that live amongst the Arabic people? Are people forgetting about them? I mean, it wasn't just Muslims there. They have totally wiped out all the churches in Gaza.
Mhm.
The oldest churches in that region of the world were in Gaza. They're gone. They systematically did away with the Christians in Bethlehem. They've been gone. Only 2,000 Christians remain in Bethlehem, and that number is dwindling as well. Lebanon,
Mhm.
you know,
And
look at
our
all the Christians
commission-
everywhere, gone.
Our commission as Christians is not to go fight physically Arabs, but to give them gospel.
And the same with the Jewish people.
Yeah.
That's why I said in my video earlier, you have done the greatest disservice to Israel you could have ever done. by
Did you,
following
Shorty? Did you get some laughs?
them rather than leading them to Christ. See, you follow them. They're not going to take you to Christ. Why do you want to follow somebody that takes you away from Christ?
Yes.
They need your help. They need you to share
I'm still laughing, Shorty.
the gospel of Jesus Christ with them, not the other way around.
Not by agreeing with the
No.
political state of Israel policy.
Jesus says, "What can light have to do with what does light have to do with darkness?"
Yeah, you
Or
can
was
give
it
them
Paul? One or the
gospel,
other.
give them
Yeah.
gospel, but defend your faith and do not participate. Because do you think, Steve, that the Christians in Zionist churches are directly going against law of love, and they are having association with darkness, and they're blaspheming?
Well, they think because, Netanyahu, when he was at the United Nations, he puts these pictures of the darkness and the light and everything. The light were the ones that recognize Israel, the darkness of the nations that don't recognize Israel's, and they're right. Now, they have a right to exist as a people and as a nation.
Well done, Shorty.
We're against other
No,
issues,
the
right?
reason there, and let me explain this. The reason that we agree with Israel existing is because it already happened. 1948 happened, they're there, and a lot of children
We
were
don't
born.
agree the way it came about, but they're born there. The people are born there. You
People
can't take that
there.
away from them.
Yeah, like these people you're gonna hear now that are actually Israelis who are fighting against what government is doing, right? These were born in Israel. They don't know any other country. They don't know any other language. That's their country. What we want is for Israel to
Shawnee, was that the Fox News interview? I heard she bombed that really bad. I just saw the heading before I started streaming.
be just like any other country, participate in a trade with countries, be in a global community, but not this warmongering and killing, genociding, and then having and using United States of America and our money and sending our children to fight their wars and then lying to us.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we are against. So why don't we just listen?
Okay.
I grew up in apartheid Israel to a Holocaust surviving family. I was a product of a Zionist education system. I did not know of Palestine. I did not know where it is. It was rather something far remote. I did not realize that Israel is in fact built on the top of Palestine.
My parents were born in Eastern Europe, and they came into Palestine to inherit other people's land. My dad arrived when he was a baby, just after the foundation of the Zionist state. Because of Zionist forces, they were only given one option. Most of those Jews who fled from Europe and had the option to go to other places like North America and so on, they did. But the majority ended up in Palestine because that was the only option that was available for them.
Growing up, I did not have much interaction with children my age who are not from Jewish backgrounds.
Most
Welcome back,
Israeli
Phil.
kids are being taught to be afraid of their
enemy territory, CNN. That would have been fun, Shawnee.
neighbors. Part and parcel of Zionist thinking is about that exclusive nature of Zionism.
Welcome back, Phil.
That, there is us and there's them, and them will never be like us. So I usually refer to Zionism as a cult, but sometimes I refer to it as a mental disorder because it manifests as a mental disorder where people who are Zionists literally cannot see Palestinians as equal human beings.
Hi, JD.
No,
Good to
you
see
said
you,
it so
mate.
beautifully, because this is exactly what it is. It's a mental disorder. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm reading book Kabbalah for the Nations, when I'm reading those books that rabbis are giving out. And right now it's about Palestinians and Arabs. Very soon the same policies will be against Christians and other non-Jews. If the UN is dismantled and the international court will be in Jerusalem, this is what they want to achieve. The non-Jews are going to be animals. Non-Jews will never be Jews. And this is what they're publishing in their books. And this is what the mental disorder
What's the beginning and the end of Baptist? I'll stream it in between.
is. Two-tier system. Them, the chosen, and the rest of humankind. And that's what's wrong.
Part and parcel of their Zionist type of thinking, and this is something that has to be taught.
I lived in a very segregated society within the Zionist education system, and being a very kind of profound product of that education system with high expectation of me excelling in the military and becoming an officer.
Israeli citizens by law are
without the Holdens, not the same, I agree.
military property when they reach the age of 17, regardless of whether they get drafted or not. So 2 months into the army, since I studied physics in university, they wanted me to be in charge of an anti-tank missile project. This is a Rafael missile that you can see being used quite heavily these days. So all I did for the first couple of months is sit in the library and read about missiles. And then I had this realization, I stopped being a soldier. Then it took almost a year and a half of fighting the system, trying to get out of there. But from my perspective, I was no longer an Israeli, not a soldier. I didn't mind what they would do. I told them, you can send me for 3 years in prison if you want, I don't care. But I'm no longer part of this game. I mean, it's your problem, not mine. You can do with it whatever you want.
After dodging the military, I was privileged enough to go to the university and meet intellectuals and individuals who were speaking about colonialism and apartheid. So I realized I came to understand the historical forces of colonialism and imperialism, basically subjugating the indigenous people of Palestine and depriving them of their freedom, liberty, and livelihood.
The moment that I realized that there is such a notion of a military refusal and that I wasn't alone in that, then I started helping others. And at the same time, it was clear that that I should take action alongside Palestinians. Quite early on, I also became activist with Anarchists Against the Wall. We would go on weekly demonstrations in solidarity, invited by the local villagers whose lands were being annexed and confiscated. And I was, like many others, I was beaten, I was shot at, I was arrested numerous times. I had friends. A friend was shot in the head with a rubber-coated steel bullet, Elbit made, of course. Also the adapters made by Elbit. And that demonstration, I was shot in my leg with such a bullet.
I was familiar with the term Elbit because my family was providing services to Elbit Systems, which is also based in Haifa. So Elbit System is a name that I knew all of my...
If you really know what One Direction means now, if he's not saved, JD.
Life, and it was not before 2011 that I participated in a demo in Tel Aviv for 2 young boys who were bombarded by a missile that was produced by Elbit and was launched by an Elbit drone in Gaza. Mohammed El-Zaza and Ibrahim El-Zaza, who passed away from that drone, and Mohammed, who came to testify in our trial.
Elbit Israel's largest arms manufacturer, producing at least 85% of the killer drones being used 24/7 in Gaza and also in the West Bank more recently. In the West Bank, they try out what's called less than lethal weapons, including the steel bullets, including something called the scream, which is making a loud noise, which is Elbit made, including all kinds of like beanbags and salt bullets and different types of tear gas ammunition. I mean, there's so many things that they have been trying on us. At the same time, in Gaza, this is their whole lab for trying out their very lethal weaponry. And every time, like now, when Israel is bombing the hell out of Gaza, it is done in direct cooperation with Elbit, where this is their R&D in action.
Coming from a background of Holocaust survivors, it was very clear to me that once there are crimes against humanity that are being conducted, one should not stand aside. So this is the kind of moral imperative to which I was committed and still committed, and believe this is a kind of universal call to not to avert our gaze when we see our brothers and sisters in suffering.
Elbit in Bristol is the headquarters of Elbit's operations in the UK, which is simply the UK office of the greater Elbit Israel. The vast majority of the directors of Elbit UK and subsidiaries here are employees who are the high-ranking officials in Elbit Israel, including the president and CEO himself, who is director of Elbit UK, and many others. The Israeli embassy to the UK and the UK ambassador to Israel were both at the opening of the new Bristol site.
Once I've moved abroad to pursue higher education, I joined the BDS campaign. And after many years of engaging in that campaign and challenging the authorities and challenging politicians and public representatives, it seems that it all led to a dead end. And at this point, it was crucial to begin to engage in direct action and to actively prevent weapons from being produced and shipped to Israel.
Okay, I have a few things to say. We said we're going to stop and chat about this. Steve, they say that Gaza is used as a laboratory for their very deadly weapons. And Elbit is one of these systems, okay? And they're using them and trying them on these people on Gaza. They have been doing
American weapons. Yeah.
America is cooperating with that. Now, these two young people, those two brave souls, just amazing. It just breaks my heart to watch it, because I know what Christians of this country are doing, pastors and their churches and flocks, okay? And I don't want to name names here, but it's absolutely horrific. So I have a question for you, Steve. You're familiar with the text, Bible text, that Jesus comes and people will say, didn't we prophesy in your name? Didn't we do good deeds in your name? Didn't we do this in your name?
Depart from me, workers of iniquity.
And he will say, I never knew you.
Yeah.
So just because Christians of this country, honest Christians, who are just beating themselves, they're born again believers.
We stood with your promised people.
He will not know them. So
Jesus warned you 2,000 years ago what he was dealing with. And he tried, that's what you should be doing, is trying to get them to have their eyes open, but you don't.
Yeah, but what these two young people are doing and say.
JD, I grew up about 5 kilometres away from the Combe and Cutter in the western suburbs of Sydney. And all the big bands like Cold Chisel and that, they used to play there. That was the pub rock era. So that's why I love the 80s music from Australia. I've seen all the major bands in a pub nonetheless. I've seen In Excess in a pub at Campbelltown in 1982 for $4.
This is what all Christians here should be saying and doing.
Yes.
And speaking up for all these people who are affected by these crimes. I mean, if you don't care for these Arabs, at least care for Arabic brothers and sisters who lived in Gaza. I mean, Gaza doesn't exist anymore, Steve, by the way. It's
the people are there, but there's nowhere to live. They live in the open.
It's just horrible how many people were killed. And
do you know how many children there are that are amputees that had no anesthetic, that have their arms and legs cut off?
It
It
really
is the most devastating crime in the history of this earth.
Yes.
And where do we think that God is sitting there cheering Israel on for this?
or not only cheering Israel, cheering Christians in America. They think that they're like saved people. They say, I'm born again, saved Christian, while he or she is cheering on Israel and pastors from Israel and I don't want to say a name.
They
but-
don't have to, because there's so many of them as it is. It's
No,
not
there
even
is
funny.
one particular, but I want to tell you. So when Jesus comes and all these Christians of America, Zionist Christians, are in front of him for the judgment,
It's
okay?
going to be a horrible day.
What do you think?
With Israel, the Zionists and the Christians, I just pray for Israel. I'll let God sort out the winners and losers of that, but I'll just pray for the whole Israel just to play it safe.
Jesus, who would he choose? These two people here who are not Christians, but look at what they're doing, okay? Or would he choose
They
them?
listen, Jesus, remember there was that group that they didn't even know how they made it in. They don't even know how they got there. And Jesus said, insomuch you did to the least of my little ones, you did it unto me. And they said, they were shocked. They didn't know. It's like they felt like, well, basically they didn't know Jesus, right? But they're like,
Shawnee, I should do another jukebox tonight. I got away with it for an hour and a half last time. So if I play it carefully, I should be able to get away with it the whole time.
Would it be
what do
like-
we do? And he says,
Right.
when I was hungry, you fed me. When I
Yes.
was thirsty, you clothed me. When I was sick, you took me in.
Yes.
This is, I'd rather be in that position
Yes.
than to be someone proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ, at the same time supporting the most demonic regime there is
Mhm.
on the earth.
Most antichrist Talmudic regime. And not only that, Steve, but those drones, those Elbit weapons, and those are not just the Elbit weapons. You know, they try every weapons on those Gazans there in West Bank. But
Yeah.
what you are seeing done on them, why do you think they're just trying it on them? Why?
Shawnee, I'll do it your Saturday this week.
It's their lab,
Jukebox Saturday night.
because they're planning to do it worldwide, globally, on non-Jewish population when they are ruling. That's why they're practicing on Gaza and West Bank,
Mhm.
because they're going to be, those drones will be above us when system changes and when Israel is mighty.
Well.
Yossi Gurevitz. We
Yeah.
had him
And Shawnee Phil had a good time too, didn't you, Phil?
here the other day. We never played him, but we should again. Yossi Gurevitz, he said he knew, he was a journalist who knew what their plan is. They killed him last year.
Wow.
There used to be universal jurisdiction in the UK. We could go after Israeli war criminals. So the UK changed the law to allow for Israeli war criminals to arrive here in the UK. And this was put to the test in 2011 when Sika Livni was the first one who arrived, and there was an arrest warrant filed against her for war crimes. And it was the head of the public prosecution, Keir Starmer, who decided to change the status of her mission and lend her immunity. And she has more recently been elected to be director of Elbit Systems.
We know we have the full moral ground to take this action. And it's also not just any higher law, it's actually written law that allow us to stop such industries from engaging.
Yeah, JD, this Saturday, jukebox. Our Sunday, it's our Sunday, it's their Saturday.
In this illegal manufacturing of weapons that is being produced for the use of genocide and war crimes.
It seems like anyone who is trying to oppose the criminals is being branded a criminal, and this is done in a systemic and deliberate way here in the UK. They obviously change different aspects of the law, denying us different defenses. You know, based on the Colson statute case, there was an appeal to change the law in that sense. More recently, they have appealed to change the law about consent.
At the beginning of Palestine action, there was the authorities were reluctant to take activists to court because they didn't want to shed light on the kind of murderous enterprise that they are.
JD, I got music lined up and I stop it halfway through the songs because you got to stop it or you get copyrighted. And I do requests as well. So it's good fun.
Running. But as time went by and we in Palestine Action managed to create a critical mass of people willing to take action and putting their body on the line, the authorities are more willing to drag us to court and
Diane, for what's coming, do you think? Training them for that?
take away our defenses in law.
No, YouTube doesn't allow, but if you play a song and stop it for about 5 or 10 seconds, it breaks up our algorithm for copyright. Last time I got away with it for an hour and a half.
We went to court. We couldn't argue for protection of life and necessity and urgency, all of which were factors in why we've taken the action. After a 4-week trial, we were found guilty without being able to present the full motivation of what we've taken action.
This genocide was in the cards. It was only a matter of time. What has happened back then is that there was already like high tension and people were already being targeted in the West Bank. Shirin Abu Akleh, the journalist, was murdered just a couple of days before our action. And the intention was to stop the manufacturing and shipment of those murder machines to Israel for as long as we could.
Yes.
As I see the entire...
Yes, Shawnee, your Saturday, my Sunday. You'll be Saturday night.
Instrument of law, as it is formulated, is the instrument of the strong. So the authorities have ultimate power. They have state power and they can use it in any way they want. But that is not something that deters me personally, because we're talking here about the most severe crimes. They are talking about the crime of genocide. My soul has not been so abused that I've forgotten that my basic duty is to care for my brothers and sisters. Our blood is already mixed with the blood of Palestinians. We are all in the same struggle, and if we have to go to prison...
Okay, I'm not as sympathetic to her as I'd like to be, because I think the Palestinians brought it on themselves. They invaded Israel. They've still got kidnapped citizens. So why can't Israel do that? They build tunnels under hospitals and all that. That's not Israel's fault. So, yeah, I don't think they're right on this.
That's just a continuation of the struggle. If we are not taking action, we are far worse than going to prison. We carry the prison within ourselves.
When I was asked to
as usual, JD, 11 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Apologize on the stand.
It'll be 11 in Australia and it'll be 9 o'clock in the US.
I said that I apologize to the people of Gaza.
Wow.
And I apologize that I was not able to avert that genocide that is happening right in front of our eyes.
There you go.
That myself and others probably have not been successful, and that is what I deeply regret.
Freedom is not going to bring itself. We must be the midwife for freedom, even if it has to pay a price. And nothing is being born without pain. And we are going to take pride in the action we've taken. We have smashed into the building. We have spilled paint. We have barricaded ourselves. We managed to destroy anything we saw our way, and we are very proud of it. And this is how things has to be done. And hopefully people will follow suit to dismantle the war machine and to shut Elbit down.
You know who has the power? Christians do still.
Yes.
And this is what my
The
apology is.
Christian, we have had
Gaza,
the
that
power
Christians
to,
are...
Exactly, Shawnee. They started it. You pick a fight and you lose it. You can't whinge. You shouldn't have invaded Israel and you wouldn't be going through all this crap.
not
we have
doing.
the power to create Israel the way we did. And let me explain something to you. Netanyahu knows without Christians, the state of Israel will not exist like it does now.
That's probably true.
And
And
I'm
it's not to
asking.
say that we want this, like Yana said before too, when it comes to the state and the people that are born there, they have a right to live there as well, but it needs to be done in peace. And that's going to be hard to do now with all this death and destruction that's been done. Very hard.
Yes, and everybody has to take part in doing something. Even if it is writing letters to Zionist pastors, disproving their Zionistic.
Bas, I don't think it was an inside job, but I do think they were aware it was going to happen and they let it happen. I don't think BB planned it though, but I do believe they were aware of it, because the way the guard, the electronics on the gates and the walls went down, they couldn't pick up movement, and usually that'd cause a red flag, but they just ignored it and they flew over it on their gyrocopters.
Dispensational theology, taking stand, making meetings in a house.
It's a very
anything we can do to educate everyone in family, go into Zionist churches.
JD, when the war is over, chisel.
Tell them that they're not right. Because what's happening here in the United States, how we are guilty as a nation, we have enormous blood guilt because we are supporting such a killing Talmudic machine. And I don't know how else to explain it other than everybody has to take an action.
Yeah. I don't want to play the full thing of this. I haven't seen it before. I just want to get part of it played. Let's see what we can do.
Strange perception that what we have here in the UK of hospitals in Gaza, because the OCHA data continually tells you that there are 36 functioning hospitals in Gaza, and currently there are 17 in operation, but that's not really true. When you look at the 36 hospitals in Gaza, there's only really 4 that do anything significant, and that's NASA, the European, Shifa and Al-Aqsa. The others are very small facilities, and a lot of them are privately owned, and they just do investigations, so imaging, physiotherapy, and these are all classed by OCHA as hospitals. So I really feel that when you hear this, 17 hospitals are functioning, you think, well, that's not so bad. But most of those facilities couldn't run an emergency department. Kamal Adwan has got, I think, 1 theatre. They're not hospitals as you know them. Only the 4. It won't be what it was.
Hi there. On war crimes, there was a recent interview with an American doctor who said that himself and all his colleagues had.
And you know what? With them hospitals, they shouldn't let Hamas build tunnels underneath the hospitals and hide their weapons there. They shouldn't let that happen, and the hospitals won't be attacked.
Treated patients, children with sniper wounds. And I know, Victoria, in your reports that you were doing online, you said that your last trip, you had a big increase in injuries in the under 5s. Can you sort of say why you think that's happening?
We were discussing it while we were out there. It's sort of that age group from sort of 5 to about 12. There seems to be a huge number of those children that are quite severely injured. So they have, over 40% burns, loss of limb, facial injuries. And one of the theories behind it is that the under 5s are often picked up by their parents and shielded, or somebody grabs them and runs with them, and the over 12s are pretty quick, so they can get themselves out of a situation and run away. So that age group from 5 to 12 is just unable to defend themselves, and that's why we see so many of them.
Hi, yeah. Thank you guys all so much, and Richard, for the work on the documentary. Victoria, as of today, I was just checking, the death toll in Lebanon has surpassed 2,000 people.
No, it's even Lebanon.
And so far we've seen people like Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta go back there to help out as well. Do you see yourself going there sometime soon? And does the health community fear a similar devastation to the one we've seen in Gaza so far?
I think that going to help out in Lebanon has definitely been an option for a lot of the UK medics. One of the
We'll pause this for now. I was thinking it was something a little different. It's still bad enough.
Oh, it's still pretty horrible.
Where do you
Okay,
want to go to now?
you know how they're killing all of the
Journalists.
and this is an American journalist. He's not killed, but he was beaten. He's American, 28-year-old journalist from Gray Zone News, and
Jeremy Lafredo.
yes, now he was in prison, beaten. They beat him, tortured him.
I don't doubt it.
And he's out now, but still can't leave the country. Okay, so awaiting some sort of, I don't know, hearing or something. So this is what I'm talking about. And he was just reporting on Misa.
Yeah, Vaso hiding the caches and weapons underground under the hospitals and schools. And the schools. They hid weapons in schools as well.
Where they had struck.
Yes, that's all.
From Iran. But the thing is, it had already been reported on mainstream media, PBS.
It was,
reported it before he did.
Yes.
And so shame on you, Netanyahu, for holding this man here.
No,
you're doing it for your own gain.
It's shame on American politicians and American
for not getting him out.
Immediately getting him out and saying, what are you doing to our journalists? Like, nobody will speak for you. You need to know that government is all Zionized. Nobody will speak for you or protect you as American
citizens. They have
citizens.
killed more than 70 journalists.
Wow.
150?
Over 150. Yes. So I guess it's good they didn't kill him, but they beat him, Steve.
If that's true that Netanyahu's killed over 150 journalists, that is as bad as it gets.
They would probably love to.
Yes. Now, another thing we are bringing up here is this horrific thing that churches are doing. Look, Prestonwood Church builds a replica of Wailing Wall inside a building, and look what they're doing there. So they're praying to it. They're praying to a wall. So
the Wailing Wall is not from the Second Temple. The Romans completely leveled Jerusalem when in 70 AD, and they didn't leave a Wailing Wall standing. Apparently, this didn't come up until about 400 AD.
Jack and Graham is the pastor of Prestonwood Baptist Church, 45,000 mega church in Plano, Texas. And in a recent video, he revealed that he and his church built facsimile of the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem inside of their church building.
I don't think it's going to be stopped, JD. I think this goes till the end, till Christ comes back. I think this war is going to keep going on in Israel. I don't think Israel will get peace again.
The original wall,
until the Lord comes back,
which was built in 20 BCE, is the last remaining outer wall of the ancient Jewish temple, and so on. So it says here, more sacred spaces are needed as God's people pray.
Okay, that wall, Wailing Wall put up in churches, think about it. That's an idol. That's an idol. The definition of an idol.
Are you kidding me? This is a blasphemy.
Yeah.
Blasphemy 100%. You can ever imagine. We are praying in our heart.
It's supposed to be Jesus, praying to the Father within.
Look what they're doing. They're putting prayers, and Christians actually go with this. They go along with this. And they're putting prayers inside of that wall.
As Jesus said, if the blind lead
who are
the
they
blind.
praying to? Because Jesus is as close as mention of his name.
Do you know that the Dead Sea Scrolls that the Qumran community considered the Pharisees to be the sons of darkness?
Yes, we knew that.
Oh my goodness, this is horrible. He's saying that this is a tribute to the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and we now have a wall at Prestonwood where God's people can pray.
Wow.
Since when we are told, since when apostles did go to a wall and pray to a wall?
You don't have anything.
Why are
they doing a glary thing?
Putting stone on a... I can't even talk. I am all just... I can't even talk about it. This is out of normalcy. This is getting too crazy.
We're going to have to close this for tonight. God bless you guys for listening. And I realize...
Steve Chiricolante just posted something. is usually interesting. It's war, General Mike Flynn.
Less patches, less weeds, even less mowing. Scott's Lawn Builder, made to make happy places.
More than any generation that we have seen.
Hey everybody, this is General Mike Flynn, and I'm joined today with a great friend, Pastor Steve Ciccalani. And before we get into some discussions with Steve and to allow him to introduce himself and talk about some of the critical things that I know that he deals with on a daily basis and certainly has been thinking about for a long time. And I'll describe here in a second how our relationship developed, because I think it's important to understand that background, that really, from my perspective, why we believe the kinds of things that we believe. I was told quite a few years ago, if you want to find the answers to what's going to happen as an intelligence officer, go back to the only book that was ever written that actually tells the truth, right? It's all about the truth. And that would, of course, be the Bible. So,
yeah. So, I mean, the main thing is, let's not forget the main thing. Jesus is coming back. It's about Jesus, not about America, not even about Israel per se. It's about Jesus is coming back to rule and reign. But because we are so skeptical, we have so many Thomases, God is very gracious to say, well, here's some proof that's undeniable, because humans can't even predict the weather. They couldn't even tell where the hurricane's going to go over. They said we're, going to have to shut down shops and churches and things like that. And then over my area, actually, the hurricane came. You can see the map. It was very clear. But anyway, it's very hard to tell the future. Otherwise, people would know, how to bet on every sport game and who's going to win every election. But we have intel here that this one is 2,000 years old. And what I'll show you about the war is 3,000 years old in Ezekiel. So let's start with this. Revelation 6, verse 1. Now I, the Apostle John, who was the last surviving apostle.
Okay, I didn't know General Flynn was such a Christian that he'd have a Christian on his channel.
So out of the 12. I watched when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures say, with a voice like thunder, come. And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and his rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer. So we've got a few different clues, and the Bible does it with clues, because what I learned is this, if you say something too exact, they say it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Somebody was they were bound to make it happen because you said who will attack who on what day. Right. So God does it in a clear way, but yet he symbolizes it so that it's not easy to know what it is until it's done. The moment it's done, you say, okay, what is this? Something that's white. So what is universally white around the world? What profession is white? You'll see the medical profession.
So I'd be blowing them up, to be honest.
The pharmaceutical industry. They will wear white, even when the actors are not real doctors. They have to wear white to show that they're in the medical industry. So somebody is wearing white. The rider had a bow. The word bow in the original Greek is the word toxon, and we get in English the word toxic. Intoxicated or toxic. The bow is a weapon system. So the bow means the bow, the arrow, and it's dipped in the toxon to deliver a poison through the skin. So the word is toxon, and then a crown was given to it. That word, if you read in the Latin Vulgate or you read in Spanish, the word is corona. So somebody comes wearing white. He's given a toxon, a delivery system that pierces the skin and gives poison into people. And then a crown of corona was given to him. What is he going to do with this? He's going to go out conquering and to conquer. That's the first seal. Then you get the second seal. When he opened the second seal, I heard a second living creature say, come. And out came another horse, bright red.
So let me, put you on this a little bit. So you described a white, a black, a red, a green horse, right? And interpretations of those revelations that each of those horses, portray. So why horses? What's the symbolic?
Horses are authority.
I mean, we just saw in the Olympics. We just saw the Olympic opening ceremony. They used the
horses mean authority spiritually.
Look like the horse of
the
death.
Devil knows. The devil knows. The devil is a counterfeiter. And so why the horse? Number one, for us, we're separated from the horse now, but for historically, the horse is the weapon of war. It's the carrier of the soldier. So number one, it's a war. Number two, A horse is a domesticated animal that is controlled by humans. So all of these events will be warlike, it will be anti-human, and it will be engineered by humans. Somebody is going to be steering it. So even though the white horse looks like it's just an accident, a virus escape, what the Bible is saying is.
But Jesus does come back on a white horse, but that's on the clouds, Shawnee, not a toxin with a bow.
He picked a horse, not a panda, not a lion, not something else. He picked a horse because a horse has a rider that steers it, and the horse allows that. So each of these will be human-engineered pandemic, human-engineered war.
Steve, looking at it from the biblical perspective, what I wanted to do in this last segment is let him just talk a little bit here about where does he think, given what he's described, where does he think we're heading as a world and certainly as a nation here in the United States of America?
Well, we'll put it in big perspective. First of all, how could we, our two individuals, General Flynn and Pastor Steve, be sitting here together when a year ago I was living in Australia and the Lord just said, come to be part of the Great Awakening here. And then the tour that you run is called the Reawaken America Tour. So I think what we have to keep in mind is God is watching over our lives. He's putting the right people together at the right time, but we have to listen to him. And it's more critical than ever that we're listening to his voice. One of the biggest problems from my perspective is President Trump has had very untrustworthy people around him. And that's why I think we are in the situation that we're in. And so we need to pray for him, and we need to pray that the right voices are around you. So that's true, like from a national level, that's true even from a family level. That third voice, that wrong voice is the problem. We got to get a sharp, clear signal from the Lord. And the way we do that is we go back to the Bible. We need people who are just grounded in the word, not in opinion. And you asked a very good question, like, couldn't somebody just look at the white horse and call it something else? Well, during the break, I'm reminded, you know what? I've actually heard other things, but the reason that they're wrong is because the seals were not open. That's why it's actually called a seal.
Now that's clever. Get to cleverrange.com.au.
It means even if you're learned, even if you study a lot, you're not going to know what it is until it's revealed. Like, you're not going to know what a corona is. You can say it could be it could be some other nation, but it just has no meaning. There's no way you would know a virus called COVID-19 that would affect the whole world until COVID-19 comes and affects the whole world. That's why it's sealed. But yes, you could say the white horse. Somebody a long time ago, I heard pastors say, oh, that's Jesus coming. But why would he come with a bow and a crown and he goes out conquering? He's already conquered death. What else is there for him to conquer? He's conquered it all, conquered sin and death. Then somebody else said, yeah, the white horse could be the Antichrist. But the problem with that is the timeline. Timeline is very important. It's like you get the advice to buy a share or a stock, but you buy it at the wrong time. It can ruin you. So Revelation 6 is way before Revelation 13, which is when the Antichrist is revealed. So it's important to just keep track of what's going on. God is chronological. He's revealing it chronologically. So what's coming next is definitely there's going to be a war. We're on the winning side. Iran's not going to win over this, but there's going to be an Islamic alliance that will come out of this. Out of that, it will take us to many chapters further into Revelation, which will take us to Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38, if you're in the military and you want intelligence from another dimension, you need to study Ezekiel 38 and 39 very clearly. So we're heading to the war. It's not the end. Those who think, I hear right now, the way they're interpreting this is, Russia's going to invade Israel. Russia's not going to invade Israel. I think you and I have some similar beliefs about this, that this is just made up American theology because the seals were not broken and because for many years, Russia's always depicted in Hollywood as the enemy. But consider the fact that Russia is more pro-Christian than America is right now. They don't have Hollywood pumping out transgender and the breakdown of families daily. They don't have that. They're actually protecting the family. They're more anti-Islam than America is right now, and have fought many, many wars on their with their smaller states of the former Soviet Union, and they were Muslim. So they're very well aware of this issue. So it's not at all in the Bible that Russia is going to invade Israel. That's something that needs to be corrected. Go back to the Bible. So when we go to Ezekiel 38 and the remaining time that we have, there's a lot of words and a lot of old words that needs to be interpreted. But we'll try to make some sense of it because this is the big one. And it comes after Ezekiel 37, which is the rebirth of Israel. So we know the timeline. The rebirth has to happen before. That's already happened. Then the capture of Jerusalem, that's happened. And then Donald Trump recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel was one of those main events that fulfilled Ezekiel 37. So 37 is done. We're now into 38. The word of the Lord came to me, that's Ezekiel. Son of man, set your face toward Gog. This is a mystery. People are debating who's God of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, thus says the Lord, behold, I am against you, O God, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaw and bring you out, and all your army, horses, horsemen, all of them. So it's connected to the horses again. There it is. It's connected, those two. All of them clothed in full armor, a great host means an army, a great army, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Now here are the nations. Persia is modern Iran. Cush and Put are with them. Cush is the old name for Sudan and Ethiopia. Today, Sudan is the Islamic country that's aligned with all of those other nations. Put is Libya. They're with them. So you got Iran, you got Sudan, you got Libya, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his cohorts, Beth Togarmah with all from the uttermost parts of the north. So it even tells you, if you don't know which direction this is north, all right? Iran is north, Syria is north, Turkey is north. After many days, you will be mustered, right? In the latter years, you will go against the land that is restored from war, the land whose people were gathered from many peoples. Okay, what land, what country is gathered from many people? America is, Israel is. We're gonna have to skip a few of these.
Australia is.
Clouds, so airplanes are involved in this. You're going to come up, the Lord says, on that day, thoughts will come to your mind. You will devise an evil scheme and say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages, and I will fall upon the quiet people who dwell securely, all of them dwelling without walls, having no bars and gates. So a lot of things in there, and it goes on the rest of the chapter, who wins, how, what happens.
So let me, put it into my language, I think, because I think that for an audience too, because people can go in and read that, and I recommend reading Ezekiel 37 and 38, because as Pastor Steve's talking about here, these are war fighting principles. When you read those parts of the Bible, they're really talking about war fighting and the principles of war, the idea of objective and the idea of the concentration of the types of forces that you need to bring together, right? The laying out of the different nations, and all those nations are still in play today. I mean, Libya, Sudan. I mean, Sudan, which at the time represented pretty much all of East Africa. Now you have, Ethiopia. You've got Somalia. So you've got the Red Sea lined up there. Of course, Iran, Persian Gulf. I mean, all the things that are sort of modern day pieces of geography that we all understand. When you talk about, things from the north, I mean, today, in the last 24 hours, Russia came out and said that they are going to continue to be the main supplier of weapon systems to Iran, not because they believe in Iran as the type of nation that it is, which is really a radical Islamist state controlled by Khomeini and some very, very radical leaders. It's because there's an alliance that is starting to take place, a modern day alliance that the Bible, when you go back to what Pastor Steve just read about, this alliance that is starting to form again. And these alliances are biblical in nature. And if we don't pay attention to what the outcomes were at that time, now at that time being in the sort of the biblical times, then we will lose sight of the kinds of things that we must focus on. Now we've got a couple minutes left. One of the things that you read there that like events, like sort of tectonic events, right? An awakening. We talked about we're running these events called the Reawaken America Tour. A great awakening. the assassination attempt of President Trump, to me, the fact that he survived and miraculously survived, thank God we'd be in a completely different place right now, you know, consequentially, if the assassin had been successful. So you know, is that an awakening moment for the United States of America? Is, to me, you know, if you look at it biblically, you look at it spiritually, and you say, okay, I'm a believer. God gave us one more chance. Is that, you know, should I believe like that? And so now I'm talking to you as a man talking to a man of faith, you know, pastor. You know, should I look at that experience that the world just had and say, is there a message there that says, I'm giving you a chance, America, but you've got to now take this chance? What do you think about that? How do you interpret that?
Well, believe it or not, 4 months before it happened on my YouTube channel, we delivered a prophecy that was very, very detailed about the fact that a bullet would pass by his right or graze his right ear, and he would be bleeding and he would fall down and he would get back up a changed man. So not only is it a sign of God, God predicted ahead of time so that we would not be asleep. You know, so much of the population is just drunk on entertainment and drugs. And we need to be aware God is actively working in this nation to protect Donald Trump and to protect the people. But we have to go a step further. This nation cannot stay the same. The church cannot stay the same as what it's been doing. And, you know, I was away from this country.
I think it's too late to turn it around. I just think it's too late.
For nearly 25 years. And I came back and I was really surprised. I mean, I knew that there were changes. America had changed, but it's almost unrecognizable. And the fact that the church is not teaching prophecy, not sounding the alarm, even the name Trump itself is in the Bible. It says, at the last trump, literally spelled that way in the King James Version. At the last trump, the dead in Christ will rise, saying it's tying end time prophetic events to a man named Trump. The solar eclipses. I was the first to talk about that in Asia and Australia. Here you had maybe just a handful of preachers talking about it. And when I came here, I just realized so many people don't want to hear. They want life to go on as they're used to. Life is not going to go on as you're used to. If Trump had been assassinated, my goodness, it would have affected all of our lives in an adverse way. So what I'm here to say is there are prophecies further than this, more than what the assassination attempt, you know, that was predicted. There are prophecies that got downloaded to me, 10 prophecies to save America. And these things need to change. The church needs to lead the charge. The church needs to lead. The church has always led. The church doesn't take responsibility for that, but we've always led in these.
So, we have a couple minutes left. I mean, how do you define the church? Because I've had this argument with pastors for the last couple of years. I get upset at all these pastors because I don't think they teach pastors leadership all that much. I think they teach them how to run nonprofits more than they teach them how to actually be leaders of flocks, leaders of congregations. But how do you define the church? When you say the church has to do something, what's the church? What's that mean?
Of course, there are many different ways you can say. And I'm not saying anyone with a building with the word church is the church. You have to believe Jesus and you have to teach the Bible. You have to at least do those two minimal things. And there are a lot of things that are not real churches to me. So I'm talking about the remnant believers that truly follow the Bible. Even those have gone into a soft message. They don't believe in prophecy. They don't believe that. They even believe separation of church and state. Like you can say God should be relegated to a corner, except on Saturday or Sunday he can come back out. Well, that's wrong. That's wrong. And we also teach a very soft message about love and grace. And we need fighters now. We need people who fight for justice. And this is what God loves about Donald Trump. It's not that he's a perfect moral man, but he's an agent of justice. And he needs to be even more. That's why he's going through the lawfare that he's going through. So he learns about justice and he would cry out to God using scriptures. He needs to quote, not just say God, but say Jesus. He needs to quote the Bible. When he does that, God will come and rescue America and help. But we need more people to say that. And we need advisors around him to say that.
See, I disagree. I think it's too late.
And they're probably saying, no, don't be too overtly Christian. Don't be too, no, the clock is way too late in the game. We need to call out on the name of Jesus and actually call out on scriptures. When we quote scriptures, there's a lot of power that's released. That's how I believe Israel will be saved. That's how I believe America will be saved. It's not just through our own strength. At some point, we have to humble ourselves and say, we got a lot going for us, but we can't do it on our own anymore. We need Jesus, and we need his word to help us when we call out that way. Justice will be delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so and for me, and we're coming to a close here, folks. If you go back into the founding of the United States of America, the founding is based on principally Christian values. And we have lost sight of those. We have actually allowed ourselves, over the last probably certainly 50 years, if not 100, but certainly 50, to just sort of go into a moral tailspin, a moral decline. And I think that one of the things that I firmly believe is that we can recover from this. We recover by going back to those principles and values that that make America great, right? That make America what it is today, that shining city on the hill that Matthew talks about in the Bible. He actually describes the city on the hill, right? So Matthew, I forget, maybe Matthew 7, but don't hold me to that. But it's Matthew that talked about a city, built on a hill that we are all in search of. So as we go forward, I think Trump is the right person at the right time, and we are blessed that the good Lord decided not to allow him to be taken from us right now for this moment in history. So, Pastor, I really appreciate it. Again, where can they find you? The Trump's Unfinished Business and President Trump's Pro-Christian Accomplishments.
Yeah, those two books and more are on Amazon.com, but you can also find us at discoverchurch.online. You can go to YouTube.
Someone sent that. I think that's not, but it looks like it's right.
100%. I thought he was trying to shoot one.
Something that you're going to see is very shocking about why we're seeing the uptick in autism around the country. Why is that happening? What might it be connected to? It's going to be a pretty powerful.
Oh, no, I'm not playing that. Oh, man. Actually, I got to line something else up.
You're about to watch another episode of Countdown to Eternity, and you may notice this is not the same beginning that we've had because I was so compelled by what just happened during this recording that I just felt the need to tell you that what you are about to watch in this recording is extraordinary, and I can promise you it's probably like nothing you've ever seen. Me and Tom were intending to have a conversation about the typical things that we do, the geopolitics of Israel and some of the things happening surrounding it, Bible prophecy. And I just simply asked Tom a question, and that question turned into something absolutely insane. So I'm going to warn you, get your paper towels, your napkins, whatever it is, ready, because you're going to cry when you hear this. This is a life-changing episode. I want you to enjoy it. Take it in. You're going to be blessed. It's going to be incredible. I love you guys. And now we start Countdown to Eternity. God bless you.
Countdown to Eternity starts now.
Well, hello, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to welcome you to another episode of Countdown to Eternity. And folks, this is exciting. Look, I don't know about you, but the last episode where I got to talk to Tommy in Israel, it was fun. There were a lot of exciting things. And guess what? Tommy is in the lobby. He's got it all to himself. I guess we could be loud and boisterous and we could get a little crazy. And I want to share one very important fact. You've been up for 44 hours now?
Something like that, 40 some hours. It's been crazy. I'm finding I'm not sleepy.
Tell us what's going on. And by the way, it's not because he's taking drugs or anything like that. I just want to make myself very clear. No uppers or anything.
It's been crazy. It has been a crazy, incredible time. Incredible.
Okay, I'm dying to know, because you told me there was a story that you have to tell me.
Actually, there's about
10.
I
just absolutely have to hear.
There's about 10 of them.
Okay.
But let's just start with this. First of all, I want to say last week when we recorded, I just arrived here. I was only here for a few hours. I got sick. I was sick. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to do this stuff. Anyways, that was a week ago. Let's fast forward to now. So check this out, James. I'm in Jerusalem, and we are filming. We're seeing people we haven't seen in a long time. This guy comes up to me that I know. He goes, "Hey, Tom, you need to meet these two guys over here." I go, "Okay." And he goes, "This is Ehud, and this is, what's his name? Sinfi or something like that." And he goes, "He's Jew, he's Arab. These guys are probably 70, 75 years old, something like that. Check this out, James. This is going to blow your mind." The Jewish guy, Ehud, he was one of the IDF soldiers in 1967 that came through the Lion's Gate and planted the flag
No
on
way.
the Temple Mount.
67. Wow.
Okay, this gets way better than that. This gets way better. Are you ready for this?
What?
The Arab guy that is with him. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? The Arab guy that's with him was fighting for the Jordanians, throwing rocks at the Jewish guys coming through the Lion's Gate. And these two guys have become friends, and they're both believers in Yeshua. They're best friends.
Wow.
And they sit at this cafe, outside the cafe, every day, drinking coffee, telling stories, and smoking cigarettes. Is that crazy?
What do you do with that?
I mean,
all right, we're done. Show's over. Like, how do you top?
No.
How do you top that?
Oh, this whole trip, this whole trip has been an absolute mind blower. It's got us. There's things that are going on here. So I'm sitting here in Jerusalem. I'm watching what's going on in America. America looks good. Okay, here's another one for you. This is how crazy it is that people need to hear, especially people in the West. We have an election there. Kamala looks like an absolute worst thing that's ever going to happen to America.
Ugh.
We have Israel's in a war. You got Ukraine. You got all these different things going on. Digital currency, everything, right? We're walking through the Arab quarter on Yom Kippur. Right? Everything in Jewish sector is closed. Yom Kippur, walking through a really big day for us. We're towards the end of our day. This Arab guy yells at me and Jackie. He yells out at us, "Harris, like you're voting for Harris. You're evil people. Harris, Harris." That's what he's saying to us. Jackie turns around.
Just because you're white Americans and he thinks that you're going to.
Obviously, you know, here, pretty much everybody's dark, right? Doesn't matter if you're Christian, Jew, or Arab, everybody looks the same, right? So we obviously stand out. So he knows we're Americans. So he thinks automatically it's Harris. Jackie turns around and says something like, "Are you crazy? We would never vote for her." And then he yells out Trump. And then before we could say anything, he goes, "You guys need Jesus." This is a guy in the airport yelling at us that we need Jesus. Go figure that one out. He could have been a Christian that was in there. He felt safe enough to say it. This has been a wild experience.
Did you guys go back? Did you guys go back and talk to him?
No, we were a little bit concerned in that area. And it was Yom Kippur, so the police weren't out to protect us. And but we'll see. We've got a lot more to do over the next 48 hours, so we'll see what happens. But isn't that wild? Have you ever heard these things before? Either of these stories?
No.
There's more. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, later something.
Hey, Shawnee, good night. God bless.
This is awesome.
There is crazy. God, I'm telling you right now, everybody, God's hand is on Israel. I'm watching. I told James this before we went on. There was, so far, we've been part of 2 worship services, Arabs and Jews, together worshiping Yeshua. These are believers together in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem. 2 of them so far. A big one is coming with Arab and Jewish youth worshiping Yeshua. Go figure.
God is doing something miraculous, bro, in Israel. Like this is incredible stuff. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, but holy smokes, when was the last time you ever heard of Arabs and Jews being together worshiping Yeshua?
You don't hear these things. And here's what's happening. I'm looking at these things. I wouldn't have known this if I didn't come here because I have more stories to tell too. I would not have known this. You probably wouldn't have heard this, right? Nobody's really coming here. There's a war going on. Everybody over here wants it to be over with, but we know it's going to be dealt with. Iran is a problem. Israel's gonna eventually smoke them. I believe so. But nevertheless, these things are happening right here in the city of God, and nobody knows about these things. And it is incredible. And you know what it is, James, when you come here, listen, you feel so safe. Listen, I know people have been killed in the war here in the last few days, but let's face it, you are safer here in a war than you are in Los Angeles 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But I look at it, and this is amazing. Okay, there's more. Check this out. So I'm speaking at a conference like 3 weeks ago. This lady comes up to me, and she says, and she's heartbroken. And she follows us, and she follows you, not just me. She follows you, and she says, "Hey, you're going to Israel. My husband died 6 months ago. She was devastated. She's a little bit older than me, and she says, can you plant something for me on my husband's behalf in Gethsemane?" And in my mind, I mean, she's weeping. I'm thinking, listen, I'll do anything I can. Well, I'll do what I can. In my mind, James, I'm thinking, there's no way.
Yeah, there's
this
no way
side
you're
of
doing
heaven,
anything in
you're
the
ever
garden.
planning anything in Gethsemane.
It's impossible.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is going to blow your mind. So we walk on Yom Kippur because we go in these caves in the north part of the Kidron Valley, right? Which is another story in and of itself. There's a series of messages here. These caves in the northern part of the Kidron Valley are more likely the place that Jesus really was in Gethsemane.
Yeah, that's right. That's
on
right.
the night he's
Yes.
betrayed, because the temple police wouldn't have gone there. This is why they needed Judas to show where Jesus was. The people, like where the Church of All Nations is and the other Gethsemane, that's where the thousands of people would have congregated, because that's where the oil was and the wine was, and they're coming from Galilee, so they would have gathered there. Jesus would have been away from the people. So we go there. We go where the caves are. We go where the thieves would have been. We go where Jesus realistically would have been in Gethsemane. So we're walking. It's a long, brutal walk and everything, and we got to get out of there. So they closed this gate you can't get through to the other side there, right? So, what? I mean, you're already walking. You know, Jerusalem is like, you go up and down and up and down.
Yeah, and you're locked in now.
We're locked in. And we have to go all the way back up the way we came, or we go straight up the hill, Mount Olives, right? On the blocked out side of the gate, which is now the opposite side of the Palm City Road. And the Mormons own some of that now. So we got to go all the way out on top. This Greek.
You're welcome, boss. I don't know why you're saying thank you, though.
This Greek priest comes out, and he's basically telling us we got to get out of there. And you guys came away, you shouldn't have come. We're apologetic, don't want trouble. And so we start walking, climbing up the hill, and he comes out and he says, wait a minute. He didn't understand English very well. It was all Google Translate. And he says, I have the key. I'm going to let you out the gate, but don't come this way again. So we start walking, said, ta-da, thank you. And all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute. When we were walking right in front of the church, just before he told us to leave, I saw these olive trees that were in 5-gallon buckets getting ready to be planted in Gethsemane.
So
God gave me this idea. I go back to the Greek priest and I say, hey, listen, there's this lady back in Las Vegas. I spoke at a conference. She asked me if I could make a donation. I want to make a donation to plant an olive tree in Gethsemane. You have these olive trees over here. Can I do that on behalf?
Nah, so I watched about 10 minutes of it and then switched to something else and forgot to finish it off. But Claude Van Damme, he looks so young, doesn't he?
Half of her husband. And he looks at me and he's going, what? And I said, seriously. I told him the whole story.
Oh, I love doing it, Vas. You're welcome, mate.
And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm going to let you do that. And he said, okay, I want to go back down where the olive trees are. I want to take a picture of me and my wife down in front of them and tell this lady what just happened. We went over to he lets us out the gate. We go over to the other side of Gethsemane, and they're trying to charge you to come in. And we told them, I said, hey, this is what just happened. There's olive trees over there. One of them get planted on behalf of this man who passed away for this lady. And we want to do a video in this part of Gethsemane just to explain to her, this can't happen. This is Gethsemane. This never happens. This happened, and it happened on Yom Kippur, the whole thing. Jane, and I even told her in the video that I made for her, right, not public. I said, this will never happen again. This has never happened before. This will never happen again. I told her, when you told me to plant something in Gethsemane on behalf of your husband, I said in my mind, that ain't never going to happen in Gethsemane. And
well, you saw my reaction.
It's like unbelief. It's like, this can't be. It's been every day, several times a day, these different things have been happening, James. God is doing an amazing work here in these things. You're just going, all the world is just going to hell in a handbasket. And Antichrist is coming soon. And God is proving over and over and over again that he's on the throne. It is totally unbelievable to be here watching him do these things.
That girl is going to cry her brains out, bro.
She is. Because unless she's watched this program, or I think I may have mentioned something briefer on something I did, unless she sees those, she doesn't know it yet. Because I'll send her the video after we get home.
That is incredible. Like, I'm mind-boggled.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. These things don't happen. I mean, an IDF soldier and a Jordanian soldier from 1967 trying to kill each other, sitting at a cafe in Jerusalem, 50 years later, having coffee in the name of Jesus.
To God be the glory. To God be the glory. What a great thing. And I cannot think of a better way to start this broadcast. Like, people are going to listen to this and they're going to be so edified, because one thing is certain: the Spirit of God is on the move. And in these last days, for every crazy, negative, insane thing that we talk about, there's all of these amazing things happening. And it is such an eye-opening, powerful,
good night, Phil. God bless, mate.
I mean, it's what an incredible story. What an absolutely incredible story. How can you not be affected by something like that?
Yeah. It's been a mind blower. This whole thing, there's more. James, I'm telling you,
you know what? Let's take a few. I don't mind taking one or two more, because, bro, this is so unique.
Okay.
Like, matter of fact, I'm going to name this show. I'm going to title this show "Something Miraculous is Happening in Israel," something like that. It's
cool.
got to be, because this is great stuff. And I'm glad he's selfish, because it's very edifying to me. So I just might as well just sit and listen to him.
You know what? I tell you, I need it. People need this. People need this in a world where, even in the prophecy world, where everybody's looking at what the heck, God is on the throne, and I am blessed that God gave me the privilege to be able to come here to Israel and experience these things firsthand. I can almost cry over just, I can't believe it. So check it out. So many things we've done here. One of the days we went down to Nova.
Okay.
We go to the police station of Stroke that was destroyed. We got the memorial there, which was, and so we leave. It was a very heavy day, but at the end of what I tell you right now, it's going to be very hopeful. Same along the same lines. So we're driving to Nova, and you go down Death Road. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the first place we stopped after we left the police station, as you turn on Death Road, was one of the bomb shelters. 12 Israelis were in there. We walked in. Jackie and I did. There was bullet holes everywhere. Countless thousands of bullet holes. There's a spot in the ground where a hand grenade was thrown in. All 12 Israelis just dead, slaughtered inside there. It was awful, surreal. So we get back in the car, and you're seeing that. This is real, and people say this didn't happen. Okay, we go down Death Road, and for all of your viewers, Death Road is the place where, when people are leaving Nova, they have to leave on this road. So Hamas was waiting for them, and there's a curve they would come around. They just started lighting up cars. And then cars would get lit up, then they'd have to stop. People would have to get out. There's an accident. You're just getting slaughtered right there on Death Road. So anyways, we go down Death Road. You get to Nova, and where the Nova Festival was, and you see it becomes very, it's heartbreaking. You can picture the kites coming over, the ultralights coming over. You can picture the trucks coming over, the motorcycles with all these Hamas people slaughtering people. James, you know what was done to the people in Nova that were caught and tied to the trees.
I watched the videos.
Friends, I could never, ever, ever repeat those things, because it would make me want to throw up. Yeah. The things that the Nazis did were bad. The things that Hamas did were, I don't know how to describe it other than, I don't see how the most wicked person, I can't see Charles Manson thinking this is wicked.
Yeah.
I'll move on from that. We leave Nova. It was difficult, but it's real. And the Western media says it's not real. Israel deserved it. All this nonsense. So we go past Beery, we go past Aza, and we come up to this other one that's called En Habasor, a community that was spared by God's grace and also some ingenuity. So check this is the mind blower. This is more than hope. So we got to meet the head of the community, Dr. Gepner, wonderful man. And he goes, we sat down, had an hour conversation with him, filmed it. He goes, we don't know what happened to our community, but God spared it. And they'll admit they were fighting with rocks, they were fighting with hammers, they were fighting.
They did anything they could
to keep Hamas out. Anything they could to keep Hamas out. God spared it. He goes, God spared us. And he goes, we believe we are to be a city on the hill here for all of the other kibbutzim that are along Gaza. And this is now we're 5 miles from Egypt border. So we're now near the Philadelphia corridor, right? And he goes, this is where it gets bizarre and hopeful. He says, it's everybody in the whole community, same way. We don't know what God is doing with us, but something is happening in our community. They're all happy. They know they're all walking around with guns now, nonstop. He goes, God is doing something. He goes, for some reason, God has opened up a door with us to work with Christians, and we don't know why.
Wow.
God wants us to work with Christians, and Christians are coming along our side.
Wow.
And he goes, we don't know what's happening, but something is happening between Jews and certain types of Christians. He says they seem to understand something that others haven't understood before. He goes, we feel something and we don't know what it is. And I told him, I do know what it is. This is God. These are people who actually believe the Bible is true, and they understand God's covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And these are legitimate people. He goes, we can't explain it other than we know God is doing something. And we see something going on with Christianity in their belief in Jesus that we can't explain. And let me tell you, they were joyful. We went over to his house that his daughter's, their daughter's best friend was killed, and she was full of joy. And she said, you know, we're going to move on with life. But she was so joyful in talking to us about the Lord. The guy's wife is hugging Jackie, thankful that we came over. There's this weird, you know it, weird acceptance of us in that community, of Christians right now in that community. And they say, we know that God has called us to be a light on the hill, and we don't even know what that means yet, but we know it has something to do with these Christians.
My goodness, bro.
Yeah, my goodness, indeed.
It's been like this. Our whole trip has been like this, James. The whole trip has been like this. It's been one thing after another. Nothing's been planned like that. It's just been absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Boy, this episode of Countdown to Eternity has taken on a completely different character, bro. Like, I'm blown away. This is going to end up being one of the best shows we've ever done. Just hearing these kind of testimonies is like, how do you not want to get emotional and just start crying hearing something that's like,
it's a trip. It is a trip. Oh, I'll tell you something else. It's just so, there's so much hope in a time of despair. I'm talking to there's a lot of atheists here, right?
Yeah, of course.
And talking with a lot of them, and repeatedly, this has been the conversation. We know that a miracle happened on April 13th. We know that a miracle happened, was it 3 weeks ago now, when the missiles, the ballistic missiles were launched into Israel?
Yeah.
They know. It's like, we don't want to say we believe in God, but we know something else is going on here. And we were protected when Iran launched their missiles at us. And I'm just watching this and just thinking, Romans chapter 11, blindness and darkness happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles is come, and then all Israel will be saved. You can see this turning. And I'm not saying, people are walking up to us and saying, hey, tell us about Jesus. What's happening is we're seeing people who know something's going on. We're seeing people who have come to Jesus. We're just watching it. We're just paying attention. We're the lady in Gethsemane.
I've done his sermons before, Tom Hughes. You remember I've done his sermons before. He's safe.
The whole planting of olive tree. That's just a God thing for that lady and for me and Jackie to be a part of it. That kind of thing. And see God moving in these ways that you're going, only God can do these things. Yeah. And in the city of God too.
I mean, it's like, it's almost like God is preparing his people for something spectacular, like he told us he would. Wow, bro.
And you know it, and it's just been an absolute mind blow. I could tell you more, but that's probably enough for now. We can say more for another conversation.
I mean, this is this is incredible.
Listen, it is incredible. I can tell you this. I cannot wait to come back. I mean, you know how it is when you land here, you feel there's just this peace, even though you know there's war going on. We're here. We don't want to go home. We have to go home. You know, we got kids, and we love our kids, so we got to get home to our kids, and they're bugging us. But I'm thinking, I don't want to go back to America. And to me, America looks like a scary place now. I'm looking here going, I see these things here. This is amazing. Arabs and Jews worshiping together.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, bro. Like, I think about this oftentimes, and this is something that David and I just talked about because we just did the live show before recording this. And one of the things that I think is so remarkable is when you look at Genesis chapter 12, and it talks about God will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse Israel. He also adds a promise to this, and this promise is significant and it's unique. And that promise is fundamentally predicated upon something that we forget about, and that's God tells Abraham that the families of the world will be blessed. The families of the world will be blessed through the Jews. And we're watching the supernatural stuff happening, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm blown away, bro. Okay, you got to give me another one. And give me at least one, like one big one.
Well,
no, I mean, I know. These are mad. These are big.
I mean,
no, I know.
I mean, have you ever heard of those 4 stories?
No. I'm not trying to minimize it. I don't want to be like that kid on Oprah that got all of his presents and says, "Is that all you got?" No, I'm
Looking for award-winning customer service? Call our friendly team today on 1.
You've just created within me a little bit of a hunger to kind of hear these stories. Okay. So give me another, give me a finale.
So this is something that's so cool. So we had this opportunity. Met with Eli Shukron. You know who Eli Shukron is? Chief archaeologist at the city of David, right? So we meet with him at a cafe. There's not a lot of people here. Tourists. The only tourists coming here are Filipino. By the way, I want to challenge everybody. Apparently, the Filipinos are the only ones who have enough guts to come here right now, and they are all quite happy. I don't see any other tourists coming here, but they were happy, and it was great. So that's a challenge to all of you people who think you're so tough. You know, they're coming, and it's great. So, anyways, I meet Eli Shukron. I've been wanting to meet him for years. He invites us to come down to the city of David. So we went down there finally today, this morning.
Forget you. No, forget you. I would have loved to have.
Okay. Wait till I tell you where we went. And we're going to explain this for all of you.
You're going to get me mad. That's what you're going to do.
We went to Temple Zero, aka Melchizedek Temple. Okay, everybody, I'm going to explain it, and this is really going to tick off James. But this is a mind blower at the Melchizedek Temple. Anybody gets to go there. I've been wanting to go there for a number of years now. And this goes along with what James is saying. God is revealing himself to Israel.
Bucket list item for guys like us, guys. Okay? I'm just finding this out right now. I had no idea. Forget you, Tommy.
I would say, out of all the places I've ever visited in the world, this is number one. This is number one. This happened today. This is the number one place to visit.
I'm nodding my head because I'm so jealous. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, so there's an oil press. There's a wine press. There's the animal sacrifice section. There's the rock that the oil is poured over. And then there's the whole section for the whole worship and everything, right? The holy place. This is Melchizedek Temple. Now check this out, everyone. This is the place. I'm standing in this place this morning. In this place where Abraham met Melchizedek. This is where I'm standing. The king of Salem. Okay, now, this goes even further than this. So, if you bring Abraham into the picture, you can skip that. David dies. Solomon is anointed king. The oil is poured over him. The oil, the holy oil that's poured over him came from that oil
100%
press that I was staring at this morning. The Ark of the Covenant, when it was not Shiloh, it was there in that very spot. So Solomon is anointed as king. I'm standing, the Ark of the Covenant is there. Melchizedek, this was the temple that he built to God. I'm standing there with Eli Shukron. He's explaining everything. And James, my hair started standing up on my arms. I got shivers up my back, up my spine, and everything. I looked at him and I said, Eli, I am standing on holy ground. He said, you are standing on holy ground. And you know, Eli's not a believer in Yeshua, but you can see his wheels turning. And Eli's one of the most foremost archaeologists in the whole world. He's the one who found the gold bell. He's found several things. He's the one who discovered the Melchizedek temple. The Melchizedek temple, this is a trip, in 8th century BC, 800 BC. At the time of Hezekiah, the Melchizedek temple was buried by dirt. So the Assyrians didn't find it, the Babylonians didn't find it, the Russians didn't find it, because any of them would have destroyed it. God protected that temple. It's there now. Everybody can, it is there for the world to see. This is the first temple of God. And then we know it was there because the temple wasn't built to the Psalm 48, the north of the city of the great king on the Temple Mount, until the Temple Mount area, until after Solomon was king. So Solomon was anointed at that very place I stood today. The Ark of the Covenant was at that place I stood today. Melchizedek was at that place I stood today. This is the king of Salem. This is, and so, I mean, then we went from there up the processional
on
road,
the excavated ground level, right? Like you're standing on the excavated ground level.
Yes, yes. And we're walking on this. So this is a fact, Jack. That road is the place where every Jew would have had to walk, including Jesus and all of his disciples. They would have had to walk there. This is the road that the blind man was sent to the pool of Siloam, and he had to go back up that same road we were on today. And I asked Eli, how old is this pavement? He goes, this is First Temple period pavement right here where you're walking right now. I'm like, that is me, my Lord. This pavement, Jesus, the disciples, all the Jews would have walked on. We walked all the way up from the bottom. Mark Levine from Fox News, he didn't walk all the way up to the top when he was there recently. We got to walk because Eli Shukron, he has the keys. He's the man with the key to the Melchizedek temple. So we got video.
How did you make this connection? Like, who got you there?
God did, I'm telling you, God has done this whole thing. Now I got his cell number. He said, call me whenever you want. It's been wild. And I mean, I'm looking, Joe, God, you're so good, you know, and to do this. And we walked the processional road all the way up from the Pool of Shloah, all the way up to the Robinson's Arch, where the Jews would have come out to go up to the temple to worship the Lord. And this is, I mean, there's even more to this trip, James. There's even more that we did.
I'm so grateful, bro, that the Lord opened up that door for you. You know, if you really think about it, it was a much needed vacation for you. It really was. I know it had a rough start with you being sick, but man, I gotta tell you, bro, I'm just so happy. I'm so blessed for you, bro. Like what an immense blessing. And I think the body of Christ listening to this on the radio or online, you're gonna be blown away.
It's been amazing. It has been so cool. It's been great doing videos with you. Sorry I was sick last week, but I couldn't help that.
I'm just excited for you. I think this is incredible stuff. Like, this is life-changing.
There's more. There's more. I can come by your church sometime and tell everybody.
Yeah, you have
so
to,
much
bro.
stuff.
You just have
I still have more time here. I'm filming tomorrow at the upper room because I'm in John chapter 13 on Sunday mornings. I'm going, what's going to happen with all this other stuff that's happened? What's going to happen when we're over there filming? And I've got to go places you don't get to go.
You just have to keep me aware, bro, and send me texts and stuff, because I'm always up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. You just got to let me know, because that's incredible. I would love to interview that. Anyway, there's so much. Oh my goodness, bro, I hope you're bringing back a lot of stuff, because this is awesome. Like
okay, guys, I'm out. See you tomorrow. God bless.
Able to do things that most people have never been able to do.
It's been so cool. You know, it's been